Good morning, Drash Ministry friends and family. I'm here with my good friend Bob Benson. We've been talking all morning about all kinds of things. I wanted to do this even before we got here this morning and talked about it. So this was a planned thing, Bob, just so you know. You just didn't know it was planned.
Let me in on the plan.
You, like everybody else, whether it's Mel or Mark or Summer or anybody else, you now have joined the club of people who get to react to that which I'm telling you. Actually, you probably do know what we're talking about. We were talking earlier this morning about safe places. We were talking about this concept of, sometimes we create these safe bubbles, right? Mm-hmm. Places that we just think there's nothing, that no bad could ever come, right? And then all of a sudden something comes into our safe place and our whole safe place shatters, right? Mm-hmm. And then people like you are on call for these moments to come in and take care of people, right? And so I want to get your take on a few things. I think that overall, for the past couple hundred years, we really have created this safe place within the United States. We've created this place where we just kind of think nothing really bad is ever going to happen. We get on the fringes of it, whether it's 9/11 or the Civil War or things like that, right? Where, all the upheaval but we're seeing this increased amount of things that are happening, right, in our country. You and I live in a place where we've still been pretty protective, but recently that bubble was definitely, if not shattered, it was definitely compromised, right? Mm-hmm. So first of all, talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing right now when it comes to people dealing with this idea of their bubble being compromised.
Okay, well, I think what we're talking about is a false sense of security.
Okay.
Any sense of security that we have here on this planet is just that. It's a false sense of security. We try and build safe spaces. We try and, in college campuses now there's a safe place. If your feelings are hurt, you can go and you can lick your wounds. We have to remember that we live in this world. Mm-hmm. And this world is just not a safe place. Who is the prince and the power of the air today? Who's running around seeking who he may devour is Satan. And when we see this kind of evil penetrate a place that is supposed to be a safe place, it does shatter that sense of security that we have. But we have to remember that evil is the absence of God. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yep. And when we remember that, Jesus even tells us that in the last days things will wax worse and worse. And I think that's what we're watching happening in our world today. So as we watch these things pour out, is this part of God's plan to refine and define the Christian nation as we're supposed to be salt and light in this place that we live?
Man, I love that. There's a ton to unpack in what you just said, right? And plus go the direction that I want to go. So this may have to be like more conversations and conversations with people that we should be having, right? So as we look at creating these safe places, as a church, and I mean that collectively, not just your church or my church or anybody's church down here, but as a church,
as the church.
Right. Have we aided this whole idea of creating safe places? And what I specifically mean by that is Jesus told us, like, hey, in this world you're going to have trouble.
We all have trouble.
But we're preaching a gospel of, hey, listen, better times are coming. We're always constantly saying, hey, great times are coming. And if you're just doing things right, God's going to take care of you. And he's not going to let anything happen to you. And all of these things. Do we as a church need to take any responsibility for building safe spaces and bubbles within people?
Well, in our Christian community, it needs to be a safe place. I'm not talking about the false sense of security that we have that nobody's going to burst in and shoot you, but I'm talking about we need to have a place where we can share our struggles and we comfort others with the comfort that we've received. That's a safe, and not that we're going to go out and tell people, oh, did you know this is going on in this person's life, and share it as a prayer request. Do we really take the time to stop keep those things confidential and pray for those people.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we jump to the ladder. We jump to, oh, did you know this was going? Because we know something somebody else doesn't.
Yep.
And that's the safety that I'm looking for, especially within my Christian community.
So you were talking earlier today about, the enemy taking things that already exist and twisting them, right? And it sounds to me like when you're talking about that, like again, the church is supposed to be a safe place for sick people to come
Absolutely.
and get help, right? The enemy has twisted it into us thinking that the church is a safe place for people to come and hide.
Yeah, do you think our churches are a safe place today?
No.
I don't believe they are a safe place, especially as we've seen this ramp up of shootings going on in houses of worship, the hatred that's pouring out between different faith aspects, even between different Christian churches, the vitriol that's spewed in our world today, because somebody believes a little bit differently than we do. I see all these as signs that we're rapidly approaching the last days.
So we've created a place that is actually protecting us, that we want to have it protect us from the things that are outside, right? So in some degree, we're not letting the sick come in because we don't want it to affect us. I've seen that during this COVID time, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is amazing to me how many people don't want to be around sick people, and now we have a rationale for it. I don't want to get COVID. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to die. So therefore, I need to not be around anybody who's sick. And we're actually in churches today, in the physical world, we're actually saying to people, if you're sick, don't come to church.
Yeah, well, in the first century, the church was accused of going into places that they weren't wanted and weren't needed. There was a plague that broke out in Europe, and there was a group of people that went in to take care of the dead and dying. And it's misquoted in history. It says this group of Christosis. Well, these were Christians who were caring for the sick and the dying, regardless of what happened to them. Do we even have that same mentality today? If God called us to go work in a leper colony,
would we do it?
Would we do it? As a matter of fact, we have examples throughout history where good men of God, matter of fact, one of them said, one morning he got up and said, I came to minister to you, and now I minister to us.
Yeah.
He included himself in that because he had become a leper by living in that leper colony.
And God didn't protect him and save him.
God didn't protect him and save him, but God enabled him to minister to the dead and dying. And do we have that mentality?
Well, do you think he was more effective in his ministry because he now had the added thing of I know where you're going.
Yeah. Exactly. And I don't know if we ever get that. That's a sacrifice. Do we sacrifice of our time, our talents, and our abilities to make an impact in the kingdom? And I would say that doesn't always happen.
We were just talking about that, so I want to go there. Let's end it here, right? Because our producer says I talk long. So let's end it here, and then I want to come back and I want to ask you some questions on that whole thing, maybe Romans 12-ish.
Okay.
All right. Hey, join us again on Jerash Ministries as we talk to some of our ministry partners about what's going on today.